This wasn't supposed to be my life. I'm standing in a grocery store aisle at 11 p.m., exhausted beyond belief. My cart is half full of what I call sad boy food: instant ramen, discount mac and cheese, and a single lonely onion. The store is dead quiet, save for the hum of the fluorescent lights and the distant wail of a child in the front of the store. I'm staring at a can of green beans, thinking about my student loan debt. This would be another meal just to keep me alive long enough to make another loan payment. I went to a great university, got a degree in something I loved, something I was passionate about. I was told it would be the difference between comfort and poverty. It'll be an investment, they said. The doors will open for you, they promised. But the doors didn't open. They were sealed shut, just as they were for high school graduates, but my impending loan payments forced me to take any job, regardless of the pay, as soon as possible. The number was a monster, $56,000, way more than I ever made in a year despite my degree. It loomed over me like a storm cloud, a constant, low-level thrum of anxiety that never went away. I couldn't find a job for shit. Nobody would hire me in my field. Regardless of how many applications I sent, managers I begged, or hands I shook at networking events. For years, I scraped by. I worked up to 3 jobs at a time. Anything I could get. My days were a blur of serving bad coffee, stocking shelves, delivering food, and freelance writing for pennies on the dollar. I ate off-brand cereal for breakfast and dinner, but couldn't afford lunch. My social life consisted of watching other people's social lives on Instagram. My email inbox was a graveyard of, "We've reviewed your application, and while your qualifications are impressive," emails. I'd call my loan servicer once a month, like a ritualistic sacrifice. "Hello, can we talk about a lower payment plan? My income has been inconsistent." I'd get the same canned response every time, delivered in a voice so devoid of humanity it could have been a computer. "We understand your situation, but your current payment is non-negotiable. You agreed to these terms." It was a cycle of futility. I'd work, I'd pay, and the principal would barely budge. It was like trying to empty an Olympic-sized swimming pool with a thimble. My debt felt like a parasite feeding on my ambition, my dreams, my very soul. It was a phantom limb I couldn't amputate, an invisible chain that bound me to a life I thought I was avoiding by going to college. The emails from the loan servicer were always addressed to "Dear valued client," but I never felt valued. I felt like a cash cow, a product, a line item on a spreadsheet. I can still see the words from those emails floating in front of me when I close my eyes sometimes. "This message is a reminder that your payment of $487.42 is due on the 1st of the month." They'd arrive with a chilling regularity, each one a tiny stab of despair. I started to visualize the company. I'd imagine the people who worked there. Cold, heartless automatons in gray cubicles, their fingers flying over keyboards, their faces blank. They didn't care about my ramen dinners or my 3-hour commutes on the bus. They just wanted their money. They were entitled to my labor for the next decade, and I had to oblige them. My 20s weren't for me. They were for the debt. I'd usually wake up at 2 a.m., my phone alarm a jarring intrusion on what little sleep I got. Onto my beat-up bike I'd go. The first job was a graveyard shift at a distribution center, sorting packages. The air was thick with dust and the smell of cardboard. We were small cogs in a big machine, our little bodies moving with the rhythm of conveyor belts. The pay was a joke, barely above minimum wage, but it was cash. It was a means to an end. My back ached, my feet were perpetually sore, and the only conversation I had was with a guy named Mike, who smelled perpetually of stale coffee. He and I would commiserate in hushed tones about how many packages we had to sort to afford a single can of green beans. After that, I'd hop on the city bus, a mobile sauna of body odor and regret, and head downtown to a cafe. I was a barista, a performer, a jester in a stupid green apron. I'd plaster a fake smile on my face. "Good morning, can I help you?" I'd call the rudest people "sir" and "ma'am," while a voice in my head screamed, "I have a bachelor's degree from a prestigious university. I am not your fucking servant." But I was. I was a slave to the debt, and had to do whatever it took to make it go away. People would bark orders at me, snap their fingers, and treat me like an inanimate object. The tips were pathetic. Half the customers rolled their eyes when the tip options appeared on the POS screen and immediately tapped skip. What little we did get was divided across all of us baristas, and there were a lot of baristas. The worst part was seeing my old classmates come in, looking content, their clothes clean and expensive, their laughter echoing through the cafe. They'd look at me, a flicker of recognition in their eyes, and then look away, as if I were a ghost from their past. After that shift, I'd immediately whip out my dated cell phone, swiping its cracked screen to open the food delivery app I work for. On my bike, I'd dash from restaurant to workplace, grocery store to apartment, food truck to single-family home, all for less than $5 per delivery. Mostly people with small orders, getting deliveries under 3 miles away, and they almost never tip. They don't care about the person bringing their food to them. I'm just a means to an end. I once tripped on someone's doorstep and chipped my tooth. It hurt pretty badly, but did the customer care? Did they even pretend to care? Did they tip or even show gratitude? No, of course not. Exhausting, demoralizing work, but the loan sharks needed to be fed. My nights were reserved for the true soul sucker, freelance writing. I'd sit in my rundown, one-bedroom apartment, the only light coming from my computer screen, and churn out articles for content farms. The topics were bizarre and vapid. Top 10 casseroles for a gluten-free Thanksgiving. 15 ways to train your cat to stop scratching. Is a poodle the right dog for you? I'd get paid a pittance per article, sometimes as little as $5 for 500 words. My fingers would ache, my eyes would burn, and my brain would feel like scrambled eggs, but I had to keep going. Every word was a tiny chip away at the mountain of my debt. The work was so meaningless, so devoid of creativity or passion, that it felt like a punishment. It was a digital labor camp, and I was serving a life sentence. While my friends were going to concerts, traveling, falling in love, I was working most of the day, every day, with no benefit to myself. I'd scroll through Instagram, a masochistic ritual, watching their lives unfold in a series of perfectly curated photos. Bunches at trendy restaurants, exotic weekend trips, sports cars, engagements, concerts. I'd close the app, a hollow feeling in my chest. I couldn't afford brunch. I couldn't afford a car, let alone a trip. I couldn't even afford to date. I missed weddings, baby showers, and milestone birthdays. I'd send a text, a pathetic excuse about being sick or swamped with work, and then I'd go back to selling myself for pennies on the dollar, feeling the years of my life slip through my fingers like sand. My parents would call and ask if I was happy. I'd lie. I'd tell them I was building my career, paying my dues. But the truth was, I was just surviving. The dehumanization was subtle at first. It was in the way a customer would look right through me at the coffee shop. The way the distribution center manager called us by our badge numbers instead of our names. The way the freelance writing editor would send back a cold, clipped email saying, "This isn't what we wanted. Rewrite." I was a unit of labor, a means to an end, a faceless entity. My name, my passion, my dreams, they were all irrelevant. All that mattered was my output. My college degree, once a source of pride, became a constant, cruel joke. I had a piece of paper that said I was capable of so much, and yet I was shuffling boxes, scooping coffee, and writing about gluten-free casseroles. It was a daily, grinding humiliation. I felt like a fraud. I felt like a failure. And every time I thought about giving up, about just walking away from it all, the voice of the loan servicer would echo in my head, "You agreed to these terms." The loan servicer, the demon, wrapped itself around my neck, restricting my breath as it compelled me to work, tightening with every day that passed. It was a slow strangulation of my soul, my spirit, my very being. And all I could do was keep moving, keep working, keep paying. Because what was the alternative? To be crushed completely? To let the demon win? No, I had to fight. I had to scrape. I had to crawl. For years, my life was nothing but a series of grueling, dehumanizing, soul-crushing side hustles, all for the sole bitter purpose of paying my way out of a debt that never seemed to go away. Then, after years of struggle, it was suddenly over. The email arrived on a Tuesday morning. I was in my sweatpants, eating a half-full bowl of cold cereal with the last quarter cup of milk. The subject line was, "Congratulations on your final payment." My heart hammered in my chest. I opened it, my hands shaking. The email was short, impersonal, and to the point. "We are writing to confirm that your loan balance of $0 is now fully satisfied. We wish you the best in your future endeavors." A wave of something washed over me. It wasn't happiness. It was more like numbness, a void where the constant anxiety used to be. The storm cloud had finally, unbelievably, lifted. But as the numbness subsided, it was replaced by a familiar feeling, rage. Raw, unfiltered, boiling hot rage. It had been building for years, a pressure cooker of frustration and resentment. Before I could even process what was happening, I clicked reply. My fingers flew across the keyboard, a furious ballet of pent-up anger. I didn't care about decorum. I didn't care about future consequences. I didn't care about anything except getting it all out. Subject: you can all go to hell. Body: to the soulless fucking automatons at Student Smart Loans. After 7 years of scraping by, eating cheap garbage for sustenance, grinding until my body ached and my bones creaked, I have finally paid off your blood money. My life was a living hell. You and everything you represent disgusts me. You dangle the lie of gainful employment in front of impressionable kids, and then crush them under the weight of your predatory loans and interest rates. You doomed an entire generation to debt slavery and told us to be grateful for the opportunity for our useless fucking degrees. I hope your office is burned to the ground. I hope you choke on your fucking spreadsheets. I am free, and you can all go fuck yourselves. Sincerely, the guy who finally beat you. I hit send and then stared at my computer screen. My breath hitched. I felt a surge of catharsis so powerful it brought tears to my eyes. The weight was finally, truly gone. The blood-guzzling demon sapping away my vitality and bathing in the sweat of my brow was finally put down. I didn't know who to be angrier with. The system that pressured me to take on the debt. The system that refused to hire me after sacrificing years to academia, or the system milking me for interest. Maybe I should have been angry with myself for being so gullible. Either way, I needed this release. Suddenly breaking the silence was the chime of an incoming email. A new message. It was instantaneous, a response arriving just seconds after I'd sent my own. My heart sank. I thought it was a virus, a glitch. I opened it, dread pooling in my stomach. Subject: reply, you can all go to hell. The email was a standard automated reply. Thank you for contacting us. This is an unmonitored mailbox. For assistance, please visit our website or call our customer service line. My rage flared again, hot and quick. Of course, it was an unmonitored mailbox. They were so cold, so indifferent, that they wouldn't even give me the satisfaction of a human response. I was a ghost screaming into the void. I stood up and walked to my window. The sun was setting, casting long shadows across the street. I felt hollowed out, empty. The world was still turning, oblivious to the small victory I had just won.